Ms. Crowbot. We're here today to discuss your pre-observation. So tell me a little bit about the lesson that I'm going to come watch.
Okay, so today the lesson is over making equal groups with strip diagrams and then relate it to repeated addition, which is what we've been working on for the last few lessons.
Okay. How many lessons? This is what? Lesson 4?
This is lesson 4, and we just started a new module. So
okay.
So this is pretty new information. We've been working on making equal groups, and then the last lesson we worked into tying it in the repeated addition.
Okay.
And the double facts. And so today we're gonna make the strip diagrams. That's the new part of the lesson today.
Okay.
Yes.
So how have the kids been doing up to this point?
They've been doing really well making their equal groups. They've been using counters and things like that to make their groups. So
Okay. So, do you see any challenges happening in this lesson? What do you see that the kids might struggle with?
um like there's a certain part where you change, instead of using your counters, you change them to numbers. They might get a little bit mixed up over that because they're more visual. And so if they see numbers like that, I think that might confuse them a little bit.
Okay. Have you kind of prepped ahead of time to figure out how you're going to adjust for that?
Yes, like I would still use the counters, but we would write the numbers underneath so that they still see the visual, but then they're seeing the numbers also.
Right. Um, Also, when you're in your classroom, how many students do you have in a day?
I have 10.
Okay. What is your population breakup of your students?
I have like one one or two really higher ones. I have a few that are kind of in the middle, and then I have a few low friends.
Okay. And how do you address your low students? How do you help them?
I group them together so that they're here and I can access them easier, and I kind of walk them through. I have to break it down a little bit more for them through their. So I have to, okay, do this step first. Okay, now let's do this step. And then let's do this step versus the other ones I really don't have to. I can give them the problem and then they know what to do. But my lower ones, I have to break it down a little bit more.
Okay. Do you have anything in place to engage your hires?
Yes. So I have them.
It's okay.
Yes.
Let me rephrase the question. So, it's all good. So when you have your higher learners, what do you plan? So they finish first. What are you gonna maybe have them
So
do?
sometimes when they do finish first, I like if they're doing partner work or I'm having them do something independently, and I might check them first. And then if I'm like over here working with my lower group, or I have them go and check my other friends.
Perfect. Okay. So, do you have any support that comes in?
I do. I have a special education teacher that does push in.
Okay, for how long?
Usually 30 minutes.
Okay. So that will help with your one group. So, when do you always keep students at their desk? What the Run me through how you move the students in the classroom.
So they are set up in partners.
Okay.
Which makes our group work pretty easy. We uh we move to the carpet sometimes for a small group lesson, and then sometimes we might go back to our work and our desk to break out and do more of our group work, independent work.
Okay. Perfect. Is there so you already told me you use manipulative, you're planning on using
Yes.
manipulatives.
They have whiteboards.
Okay.
And then I do let them come up to the board also and show their work as well.
Okay. Is there anything you can think of that you're looking for feedback on?
Just how I can push their thinking more.
Okay. So like student modeling or
Mhm.
student
Mhm.
how the students can um participate show their thinking.
Yes.
Can't come up
Yes,
with the
because
words.
I tend to lead more, and so backing off of that and letting them lead, I think,
Right,
would
right,
be a
right,
little better. And that way I can also see their thought process and adjust it to the spot.
right. Although, you I know you all like to walk around a
Yeah.
lot. Okay, Miss Crowbot. So a question I'd like to ask you is, um, how do you, when you're looking at your lesson plan, I
Mhm.
know we're talking about a repeat addition, but how do you um, use it, take your lesson, and consider your diverse learning group? Like, what is your thought process, and how do you think about the different needs in your classroom and how you're going when you're approaching a lesson?
So I kind of read through it, and like if it's worded in a weird way or like a way they haven't ever heard,
Right.
then I like reword it like can I just
Yeah.
okay. So like this says it says now like we modeled a picture and they were not equal groups. So this is it said now talk with your partner. How would this model be different if they could be equal groups? So when I drew the picture, I kind of said, okay, as I was going, are these equal or not? And if they are, how can we make them equal instead of
Yeah, right in there somewhere. You wouldn't. Or maybe right here.
okay, yeah, how would the model be different? So since our focus was making the equal groups, that's wording that they've heard prior.
Right.
So they were familiar with that. So I try to use wording. I don't know if there's another word for that. I tried to use words that were familiar to them so that they understood and it was easier for them.
Okay. So you
Um,
definitely know your student
mhm.
and what might be
Mhm.
a challenge to them,
Right.
and then you reframe the lesson
Yes.
so that it is suited to their knowledge
Yes.
at the moment and words they've heard and
That are familiar.
understand.
Mhm.
Right. Um, so next, what strategies do you use to differentiate instruction to meet the individual learning in your classroom?
So I let them use we use manipulatives. Um like they have counters, they can draw their pictures, they can some of them just automatically know that they can just write their problem without the visuals, so they can do it that way. Well,
Yes. So what I'm hearing is you use a lot of different ways, and the
mhm.
students know what they
Mhm.
can and can't use
Mhm.
and how they can use it.
Yes.
So y'all have definitely put in procedures in place
Yes.
on how to use this, how to
Yes.
do that. So the students are not, they're very familiar.
Yes, and they have everything they need for a lesson is given to them prior, and they know how to access it and where it's at and things like that. So,
Perfect. Um, okay, so this one you might have to think outside, like how you might do it. if it didn't if it's not going to occur in the lesson, or how you might do it for a future lesson. But can you provide an example of how you would connect a lesson to a real life experience of your students to make the learning more engaging and relevant?
Yes. And actually, like this lesson today, I could have connected it, and I didn't think of it at the time. But like we had a birthday yesterday, and we celebrated it, and we had cupcakes and juice, and I could have taken that, and she had vanilla and chocolate cupcakes. So we could have, hey, how many, if we were to give one of each to everybody, I could have, how many, groups could we have made? Or I could have related it to that specific scenario.
Right. Very good. Very good. And I like that example, going back on what the
Yes.
students already know.
Yes.
Um, so, um, can you discuss how you facilitate opportunities for students to reflect on their learning or set goals? Do y'all do any of that in a math? Like, is there goals they're trying to work for, or um, how would, based on, do you monitor their progress?
I'm trying to think. Um.
I know we talked about, you might do a game,
Mhm.
and that would help you monitor that
Yes.
fluency
I
progress.
know, like, well, during their, like, when we do their sprints, like, there's two sets. So the first set, it's kind of being introduced, and we have a timer. And then when we go over it, they go back again the second time, and, they try to beat the number of problems that they got, whether it be by one more, or so that's something that I check too when we do sprints.
Perfect. And I will say, you also, I know that you went back and asked, what's the pattern?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
just because I know the curriculum,
Yes.
I know most of the sprints have some kind of pattern
Yes.
hidden in them,
Mhm.
and getting the kids to eyeball that.
Yes.
I liked how you tied that back in,
Mhm.
just because it helps them go, oh,
Yes.
because math is
Yes. And you at first they may not realize it until you talk about it, and they're like, "Oh, yes."
right, right. And you did do that several times, so that was great. Um, so let's go back over. How do you ensure that all students, including those who struggle or are advanced, are appropriately challenged and supported in your classroom? I know we've talked about this a couple of times,
Mhm.
but how do you support your your students who need the challenge versus your lows?
Right. Mm, for my higher, I guess it's also trying to push them a little bit more. I know, like, one of my hires, I don't know if you saw during the lesson, but she kind of already knows multiplication, and that's what this is introduction to multiplication.
Right.
So she was like, "Can I make my multiplication problem?" And I was like, "Yes." And so she did it, and then she showed me, and then she showed me how she worked it out. So we took it one step a little further.
Right.
Um,
So instead of the repeat addition, she's
yeah.
already on
Yes.
multiplication and pushing her forward.
Yes. And so
Okay.
she did make her multiplication problem, and so she used all the information we've learned, and so she did that. And then for my lower, it's really just getting them to make sure they understand their basic steps, and uh understanding, like, how they're building it, and how, like, pulling out the double facts in our repeated addition, like getting them to understand why it's a double fact and things like that too.
Right.
So,
Right. And trying to connect that
yes.
to the dots they do know.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And okay, yes, because I saw several, they were still counting finger
Yes.
to finger, and you're like, okay.
Yes.
Moving forward. But you did a great job of getting those students, and you were definitely there to assist, and so was the special education teachers. So that was great. How do you adjust your teaching strategies to leverage student strengths and prior knowledge to enhance the learning? So how do you use their strengths? So thinking of your kids, think about what they're strong at. Do you use that when you're in the lesson in anywhere?
I would say I know I'm going back and thinking.
Okay, I understand. That's kind of like one of those where you're like, oh wait, I've got to really think on this. Um, so you do have a challenging group. Um, so it's like, how can I use these different kids to get the learning outcome, right? So I know you have the higher one. So you have to keep her from going off to where you lose the little one, the lower ones.
Yes.
So is there anything you think that you could use, even the lows? Is there something?
I could sometimes I do pair them together if they work well and have the higher one kind of guide my lowers a little bit.
Okay.
And and they like being included like that as well.
Using
So
that peer-to-peer relationship that works.
and sometimes, hearing from another student helps them a little bit more, because they speak a different language, like they explain things a little different than
Right.
what we might. So
Right. We're academic. They're like,
yes,
bro.
yes. And so sometimes it clicks for them a little better. So
Right. And that's great. So Miss Crowbot, we can talk about the observation here in a minute.
okay.
All right. Miss Crowbot, we're here to discuss your observation that we had today in class. For just to start off, it was an elementary math lesson. You do use the state curriculum. We use Eureka here in Tech at Damon. So I want you to kind of start off by telling me, how did you feel it went?
I feel like it went pretty good.
Okay. Did you see anything that you were like, ooh, I should do this, or any kind of um spots that you were like, oh yeah, I wish I could have done that different, or
Yeah, I do feel like when they were working in their groups, like I could have had them maybe come up to the board or something and like have them model what they did
okay.
for feedback instead of me being up there and doing it.
Right. More student led versus teacher led. And I fully get on board with that.
Yeah.
So T-TESS, we have several domains. So we're going to be looking at several different domains today. So our first domain that we're going to be looking at is domain 1.1, which is standard alignment. So during your lesson, you first came out, you stated the objective right off the board. So I know that they are doing arrays and they're doing repeat addition, and you made them restate the repeat addition. So I really liked how you specifically did that, and you reinforced that clarity so that they knew what they were working on. You also included prior knowledge, which was that double fact, because you kept going back to it. Yes. Hey, double facts. What are your double facts? So I liked how you kept putting that in, and your counting fluency was really good because that helped your double facts and led in. So each little part of that, I liked how you tied that to the lesson. That really made it concrete and go with the tape diagram and the goal to the activities. Um, so only thing, so you have a strong, like I said, strong, clear objectives, student, that was all excellent. Only thing I have suggestions that you could consider just adding into it would be at the end of a lesson. How did today's tape diagram help us understand equal groups? How did doing this, why were we drawing the tape diagram? Because y'all were doing the little boxes on the whiteboards, but at the end, before you release them, just saying, why does that help us? What is the point of that? Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then really that puts you in this domain, you are proficient. So, in the rating scales, you have developing, proficient, distinguished, accomplished.
Okay.
And so, as a whole, we're shooting for proficient usually as a teacher. That means you're a rock star, you're doing great. But, if you always want to push to the next level, adding in that ending statement can really push you over. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Next is our dimension 1.2, and that's data and assessment.
Okay.
So I loved, you were constantly circling the room. You were constantly touching, going in, discussing with the students. If you saw, you could immediately address what they did. I also really liked how you did turn and talks, using those partners to kind of help each other. The use of the sprint. You did the turn and talk. You also had guided questioning. All of that was great assessment on your part that I saw. I will say, here is our one, once we get into the coaching, here's the part where to make it go a little bit farther, how can you improve? Or, just add a little oomph. They were mostly teacher driven, which I will say in second grade is hard.
Yes.
For student led versus teacher led in those lower elementary, but trying to get them to kind of be a part of their learning is what we want in that student driven. So like I said, you are strong, excellent at in the moment monitoring, immediate feedback, walking the room, correcting errors. To increase that student accountability, maybe have a quick, like you said earlier, you were telling me, I wish I would have had them come up to the board and have a student do, draw and explain the 4 groups in 3, 2 ways. So have one do it one way, one do it another way. Maybe make it a game so that it's more their idea.
Right. And they maybe understand it a little bit better.
Right. And you could even, I don't know, just thinking out loud, maybe if you had a lower to differentiate, you would give them a post-it note, like, here's your number groups. Okay. Here's your number groups. All right. Go to the board and show me. Or, that way you can have all of your learners participate and not just your 2 high groups, because that's what you would probably lean. You're like, I know this one could go up and do it without help. But to get all of your kids. And then have students explain their thinking. Like, and so even in your lesson, you could pause. I think you might have done it once. Like just saying, okay, so you had your 4 groups of 3. Why did you think it like that? Why were you doing it like that? See if you could get the little boy to tell you why he did it 3 and 3. Because there was that instant, instead of 2, 2, and 2, like the first example, maybe trying to get him to say, well, how did you see it? Why did you see it that way? But you did a great job of taking that. I loved how you did it. You didn't like say, oh, that's wrong. You were like, okay, but we're looking, you redirected him to the repeat addition, which was the target of the lesson. So I love that. And then he got help from another student. but having them voice it too, trying to see if they'll voice it
Right.
in the lesson would be great. I'll still tell you, you got proficient in this. So you're still doing a great job. It's just, trying to move that,
Right. Push it a little further.
push it to the next level. Next, we're looking at our dimension 1.3. How well do you know your students? Okay. You did a great job, like I said earlier, prior knowledge, the double facts, the counting strategies. You provide multiple representation. You had them use the dots. You had them draw. You did the tape diagram. All of that, you were supporting the diverse learners, and you have quite a few. Also, you had the special education teacher in here, which allowed her to do a small group to support and reinforce there. And those giving them their additional assistant. Um, there were moments of responsiveness. So where, adjusting when students struggled, revisiting a concept, showing that you were showing me that you are aware of your class's needs. And so I will say this is on a strength. You have effective use of multiple having all these different ways they could show you. Also having the sped support during that math 30 minutes was great. So other things, you already had it pre-planned out. You had a little baggie of the dots. You also had them in groups using that turn and talk. The only thing you might look to extend is how to challenge the students who finish fast, who already got the concept. So I know you have two little girls who they were done like that. So maybe they came up with a problem on the board, or like for everybody, like, hey, this is our next problem. Maybe they go up and do it. Or I know at the end of class, you had one of them go and check others' work. So use your resources in your class. Because if you know they're right, check them first. And then go around the classroom, and then that way they're not just sitting there, you know, causing problems. And then they can feel a part. And then really using that takes you from proficient to distinguished. Right? Because that you want that push, because you're using your students, you're engaging that second level, right? The other thing is real world connections. This one is hard to do in your cookie cutter curriculum. So you kind of have to think outside the box. So like you did the flower example. Instead, to make it more real world, because I don't know how many of them are messing with daisies and whatnot, you could always change that. And I was thinking of things like cupcakes, or like a birthday. Oh, we had a birthday party. We had 3 chocolate cupcakes, 3 vanilla cupcakes. And tell them how many kids they had. That would be your 4 groups of 3, whatever the case may be. Figure out, maybe you do cookies, everybody get whatever the case may be, to try and see if they can connect to it. And that would be your real world. Does that make sense? So I already told you did great on that. So activities, dimension 1.4 is over activities. So students were actively engaged. They had hands-on and were collaborative in their activities. You did sprints. You did partner discussions. You created the tape diagrams. Uh, it You gave lots of opportunities for the students to model equal groups and connect with that repeated addition. You were the facilitating the discussions, calling on students, asking guiding questions. having students demonstrate their thinking on their own boards. So you did great. I will say, one thing you might watch for, you tended to, I don't know if you noticed, but you called on the like same two people.
Yeah. I tried not to, and I do have popsicle sticks, but I forgot to pass them.
That's fine. That's fine. I just thought it was funny. I was like, okay, but just noting it,
Yes.
like, and that was one of my suggestions is maybe use a popsicle stick, um, and I know you want to not necessarily avoid your strong students because they'll always know the answer.
Yes.
You were trying to make sure I know what you were doing. Your lower students, did they get it? You were checking that lower understand the kiddos on the bubble that need the check. So I get what you were doing, but just be aware that you might want to do this too. I thought it was cute. I was like, okay, those two were getting it today, dang it. Um, this is just adding icing to the cupcake. If you wanted to, you could um, use justification prompts like, why does your diagram show equal groups? How do you know your answer is correct? This takes it from your knowledge to their knowledge. Okay. So why is this correct? Tell me about it. Okay. You could even, after your friend goes to the board and does it, how do you know that's correct? What did you do? Like trying to get her, especially our higher order kids, thinking, why did she do it? Okay. Why is that? Because that will engage her because she has to think about it. And keep her busy. Yes. Because that's always. And then maybe you do create your own. Do a create your own moment. Okay. So and then have them model it. And then you could also do here's just another, is 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 the same as 4 groups of 3, and why? So that and why makes them think. Just trying to get them to think a little bit more while they're doing it. But like I said, you did a great job. You were proficient in this as well. So, good job. I mean, you really did a great job. I'm not in any way, I was like, wow, that was awesome. So let's make sure. So anyway, um, also like, so our key growth areas, like where I'd say, hey, you might want to focus on this area. And it's nothing against you. You're a new teacher. We all have areas we need to grow in. Instead of students off task, reframe the growth. Let's try and figure out how we can put in structures that engage them a little more. I was thinking, so you're counting and fluency. What ones did I was trying to keep track? You did tens, fives,
and twos.
10, fives, and twos. Okay, so maybe if they're really good at tens, don't do tens. Okay. Focus on like one because they're getting lost and doing 3 of them. Yes. By the twos, they were done. Yes. So like if you really wanted to focus on twos that day, maybe that was the weak one. Okay. Or weakest. Then do that. Okay. And that way that saves you time also in your lesson. Okay. Because from the fluency to even you hadn't even got to independent practice was 45 minutes. Okay. So I know that we've always said that this one it is so teacher led. And so trying to find that balance. Yes. Like they're constantly doing something, but they start losing.
Yes, they do.
They get wiggly. They stop counting. They're like, hi.
Yes.
Sunshine? So maybe the other thing I could suggest popcorning counting.
Okay.
I don't know. Like you stand at the room. I was thinking like, okay, she says 2, she says 4, he says, and so hopefully they would stay engaged because they've got to think
about it.
And maybe you can make it a game. Like we made it yesterday. Like if you just did 2s in a week.
Okay.
And see how high they can get before somebody forgets. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a game and like keep tally on the board or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yesterday we did 2s up to 18. Let's see if we can beat that by, so many. And then maybe that will keep them
like engaged
and focused.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And maybe here's another thought. Do the counting on the carpet.
Okay.
Have them have all their stuff set on their desk, right? They get ready, they have their stuff on their desk, but count on the carpet. That way you can point down the line. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then however far they get before they forget where they're at.
Yeah.
Because they're 8. Yes. It's a challenge. The next day, hey, let's try to get to, and then you've got that engagement. Does that make sense? To keep them
like they're excited about it that they
hopefully
want to.
all paying attention. And then the other thing is like partner accountability. Are they paying attention to each other? Are they checking to see is my partner doing the right whatever? We don't want tattletales, but are they actually doing the process?
Right.
I will say the 2 littles over here, I noticed several times they were on task. So they were definitely engaged in there. Now one of them kind of gets a little but he got back on task. Then we had our special friends who got a lot of help from our sped teachers, and then our 2 speedies.
Yes.
Who were like, we're done.
Yes.
Like they understood the assignment. So and they were just like chugging through. So that's why I would say try to use them.
Can I maybe pair them like when the sped teacher's not there with one of my special friends so that they could?
Yes, as long as that special friend doesn't get triggered by them. That's kind of a balance that you have to negotiate.
Yes.
In the classroom, is he going to do better or are they going to do better if I do it or if I assist him versus a peer?
Yes.
Whereas we want him to be peer to peer, but if he gets too overwhelmed by that, then pull him and his other little friend that needs more assistance and use those 2 together. And that way you can kind of help that group.
Yeah.
And then the other little friend that doesn't get triggered by people, she could be with the other. Does that make sense? That way you keep your 2 lower ones that you're keeping more tabs on. Because it's just a balance. You could always try it one day.
Yeah.
And then see how he does or they do, whatever the case. And if he does great with them, then awesome. But if he starts to feel like they're just telling him on
then
you've got to work with that. And that's another thing you could also work on. I mean, anybody can, right?
Yeah.
You could say, hey, how here's how we help each other. We're gonna say nice things. Is it 3 stars? I always did 3 stars in my classroom. What 3 positive things can you help them with? Oh, I like how you did this. I like how you did that. They gave them 3 stars, and I went over how we give people stars and whatnot, and then that kind of helped guide them. Okay. Sometimes you have to guide them.
Yeah.
And then So definitely, so we already talked about, that academic discord. How are we going to get the kids to talk more
Yes.
at the board, model, student think versus you leading.
Yes.
And I will say, I know these lessons in Eureka are very you led.
Yes.
So, knowing that we have to work the extra to get it and, you know, cut down on some of this or some of that. Like, I love that you did, all the models, but maybe one of those models is by a student. Does that make sense? Instead of always being you.
Yes.
You could easily write it on a post-it note and they work through it on the board. And then y'all can talk about it together as a class. Does that make sense? Because that would be more from you led to them and trying to get them. So again, use your strong student, especially the first time.
Yes.
And have them, maybe model how to do it, and maybe the next time it'd be a different person and be like, oh, okay, here you go.
Maybe
and
they could be like the teacher for the.
Yes. Okay, you're gonna teach this. Okay, here's your post-it, with the information. Now, can you show me on the board? And that get them interested in what you're doing. So really, overall, I definitely. All right. So it's strong instruction planning, alignment to your grade level standards. Student engagement was high, even though they're wiggly. Kids are wiggly. The conceptual development was good. Connecting the tape diagram to repeat addition to the double, finding the doubles, all of that was great. I loved how you worked all of that into the lesson. Major strength of this lesson is your active monitoring and your responsiveness to the student's needs, circulating the room and providing immediate feedback. Also incorporating that partner discussion, really like that. So to further strengthen the lesson and move towards a distinguished level, the focus should shift towards increasing student ownership of learning, providing those higher level thinking, provide more opportunities for students to explain their reasoning and justify their models, generate their own problems, implementing structure strategies to ensure all students participate equally. And then this will all help your classroom. So, like I said, overall, it was a strong, well executed lesson with clear opportunities to evaluate rigor for your student discord and differentiate and a deeper cognitive demand. So, honestly, you did great today. I know it's very easy to have somebody else in your classroom. So is there anything that you're like, oh yeah, I want to try that with tomorrow's lesson?
Yeah, more the student led, definitely. Yes.
Okay, like having them at the board,
Yes.
maybe.
Yes, more of them after they work their problems together, showing it so I can see their thought process out loud. Maybe having them teach so that the students can maybe they understand it better from another student's point of view versus mine.
Right. I think all of those would do great and keep them more engaged. I know we also talked, you have a limited technology. So it's definitely a challenge, and you are seeming to work through the challenge that you've been given. Um, so adding that, like having the kids do the counting on the carpet, having them have more discussions about it instead of they're just listening to you.
Yes.
Because I know you
I
get
know
tired. You get tired. Everybody gets tired.
Yes.
So definitely I like all of that.
And maybe I can have them see if they can make a real world connection.
Right.
Have them, what does this make you think of? Or can you think of other scenarios like if you go to the grocery store, you go here, you go.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would prep that ahead of time. I I will tell you, AI is a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, using that, I would prep a few real world scenarios
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe give off a few just so that you're not standing at the board.
Yeah, so that they can
going, what is that real world I can do?
Mm-hmm.
So, giving them that giving you some prep ahead of
Yes.
to have it ready to go. Because the kids know the structure in the classroom. They knew where
Mm-hmm.
your stuff was. They know that. But we want to give them just that little bit so you're not like standing that, and it helps you.
Yes.
Because no telling if you got up there and be like, wait, what was I going to do? Because it's a long day.
Yes.
And after a long day, nobody